I'm not sharing anything. Let's see. All right, hopefully you guys can see my screen here. Okay. All right, so let's let's talk about database, right? So I'm sure everybody knows what database is, or you guys are using the database one way or another. You just may not know the terminology. What is really database? Okay, but let's see why it's important for you as a QA. Okay, so generally, pretty much any project you will have in IT, whether it's a software development project or anything else, it all deals with the data. Okay, whether it's for any project, you will do some type of backend testing. You will come across that backend testing, meaning data transfers, right? From one system to another. That's one way of backend testing. You will have a lot of batch processing running. So like 401k, right? I don't know, or if you are investing in IRA or anything, you will get a nightly basis, you will get update. Okay, what's your total balance? So there are a lot of batch calculation happens in the backend, which pulls the data from somewhere. And so somebody has written those programs, but QAs are testing those programs. So that's all about backend testing. Okay, a lot of calculation happening. So data verification for applications, right? So you have to verify, hey, where my data is it all the fields are being stored or not, and so forth. So that's there. Batch job processing is there. That's again the 401k calculation I mentioned. Operational reports. Am I pulling the information and send? So think about you are getting the bank statements, right? On monthly basis. Is the information on that correct or not? So you have to verify that. Okay. And the only way you can verify it, you look into the database, interact, run the queries, and verify the information is being shown on the data on the reports is correct or not. Okay. So there are several ways you have to deal with the database. If you are a QA, you have to deal with the database basically. If you are working for like a data warehousing projects, which is strictly about transferring bulk of data from one place to another, that's all, and running some reports and so forth. You have to have advanced SQL skills. Those are multi-million-dollar projects. So if you're writing a software, right, like Airflow, it's maybe like $200,000, $300,000 project. Okay, Airflow is about $100,000 to $200,000 project. You might have maybe $1 million software development projects or $5 million. When you are talking about data warehousing projects, they go multi-year. So you cannot create overnight. This typically spans 5-year type of projects or programs. And that dealing with all about, it deals with the data all the time. Okay. So this one, data warehousing projects is all about data. Pull data from 50 different systems, create the reports or build the data warehouse, and do some type of marketing analytics type of thing. And so big companies have heavy investment in this data warehousing project, like JP Morgan. I don't know, $50 million. That it can go up to that one easily, because it's all about if somebody is buying some product, can I sell somebody something else to that guy? That's what these projects are. So it's all about data, and it requires heavy SQL skills, advanced skills. And as part of that, you will have various things that is shown here. So imagine you are a QA working on this thing. You cannot live without SQL skills. Okay, that's all I'm trying to make a point. Does anybody know any? Some of you are working in the company, right? But I think most of you will receive some type of reports, right? It's all about data and so forth. So, okay, any question on this particular slide? Okay. All right, so let's see what the database looks like, what's the data looks like, and then we'll go from there. So I'll get you some basic understanding of certain things, and we'll dive into the SQL side of things. So what is really database? Okay. So database is nothing but some way of organized collection of data. Okay. So it's all about data, and data is what? Anything that you have. That can be your name, social security number, that can be your part of your data, your address information, that's part of the data as well. But you have to organize it somewhere. That's why this type of tools are used. Now, it doesn't have to be computerized, right? Like you in the previous days, back in 90s when I was here, first came in, you had like a yellow books, right? That's again a database, one type of database. It is organized by alphabetically, basically. The TV guide, right? We all used to get in the mail back in 90s. I'm talking about 90s because I'm old. So that's where you were used to get TV guide because we didn't have internet, right, at that point, or it was just beginning in 90s. But these days, modern times, we have reservation systems. You can book your tickets online, collect your information, store somewhere, DMV records, and all kind of things. But you can consider like a grocery list on piece of paper. That is considered as a database as well. It's a small database, but you are organizing somewhere so that you can easily find things in the wherever you are going, Mire or anywhere else. Okay, so these are all databases. By definition, organized collection of data. That's all. Now we all know why do we need it. Again, keep track of various things, reporting, research, everything deals on with the data only. Okay. Let's see what is required for data. Now we are talking about computerized database. So first of all, you need to have a software where you can create the different databases. And one of the software that I ask you guys to install is SQL Server. Okay, so that's the software where you can create n number of databases. There is no limit. You can create as many databases as you want. You can have an Airflow database stored in the SQL Server along with maybe something else, your grocery list. You can store it on the SQL Server as well. Okay, and database, it is called DBMS, Database Management System Software. And generally it is installed on computers somewhere in the companies. Okay, so you have one beefier computer, you can create a database, and then your web application, it might be sitting on a different computer and it will interact with the database. Okay, that's how the code works. And these are some of the popular databases. Okay, so you have Oracle from Oracle, IBM, DB2, SQL Server is from Microsoft. Sybase is, I think it's IBM again, or Sybase. But you will also have MS Access, which is from Microsoft. These are desktop database, and there are basically client server type of database. These are the top ones, 4. But there are desktop database. All the mobile phones have SQLite that comes with it. Okay, so your mobile phone will have SQLite. So anything that you store on the mobile, most likely it is stored in the SQLite database. There are some open source or free ones, MySQL, MSQL, and few others. Okay. All right, so how do we organize the information, right? By definition, it's an organized collection of data. So how do we organize? So we organize in the table format. Okay. So let's come back to this slide here. So then I'll come back to other one. So generally in the Excel, right, you have rows and columns. That's how the tables are. You can call it a table in the database. And you will have rows, which are nothing but records. So you have customer record. It might contain customer name, phone number, email, all these details, and so forth. Now, customer name is considered, it's organized in the column, right? So it is a column or field, you can call it. So let's take a look at the example, what we have. So here, I have a sample data table. This is how I can create in the database, this table. And it's a one table, okay? But I can have 500 tables, organize information, or 500 tables where I can organize different information in there. But in here, what I have here is this is called one complete record, okay? Because I have this here, this data table is all about what is the student, what's the student's ID, last name, first name, street address, city, state, zip. So this is called record. Okay, this is one record, this is second one, third one, fourth one, so forth. These are columns, just like Excel, right? But these are in the database, these are called fields, okay, which store the information. So city is a field where I can populate all the city information for a particular student, and it will become part of my record from there. Okay. So it's a table format, right? Data table. It has rows and columns, or rows and records and fields. That's all it is. Okay. Now, so rows can include one or more column or field, right? So typically record includes one or more column or fields over there, okay? That's the basic concept about a table, and you can have as many tables as you want in a database, one database. Okay. All right, now let's understand the column or field, what it contains. So it contains an individual piece of information. Okay, so individual piece of information. So I have a SSN, right? So think about SSN. So this one will store my all the social security number for different records, right? Now, imagine SSN can be numbers only, right? Numbers only. Or it can be alphanumeric. Is that true? Alphanumeric? Can it be alphanumeric? Again, we know it can be alphanumeric, but the way you are storing in the database, you can mark it as a text or number, right? Because if you are storing something like 22211, something like that, right? This one includes dashes, so it can be alphanumeric storage, okay? So every field or every column, whatever you are saying, right? It has some type of data type you can associate. Because I don't want to store junk in the table, right? Or the fields. I will assign some type of data type to every field that I'm creating in the table. And they will always have some type of data type here, whether it's a numeric or it's alphanumeric and so forth. You can also store images as well. So like your driver license, right? Yeah, they'll take a picture, they'll attach with your record in the driving license system, and they will store your image as well. So you can store images in a particular field or data table, okay? You have numbers, you have text, you have binary data. Binary is a computer terminology, right? Basically, it's bytes and bits and other things you can store it. Char varchar are kind of like a text data, but you can specify some size and so forth. Integer is a whole number, right? You can store, you don't store decimal, okay? Just like a full number, 1, 10, 1000, something like that. But for decimal, you have double data type, where you can store 10, 1.5 or 1.5000, whatever, okay? So different data type you can associate with every field, and restrict what type of data is stored in the particular data field. Any question here? So table, you have records, you have fields, and field has a data type associated with it. Okay. All right, I think we already talked about data type here. So each field in the database needs to have certain type associated with it. Okay, whether it can be text, number, dates, image, whatever. So typically when you create a data table, right? So it contains this piece of information. So you will always have some type of name, okay, some type of type associated with it, and some type of length associated with it. Okay, so here the last name, right? If I have a last name, it allows, what it says is it allows the text storage. So I can store any alphanumeric values, and it's a maximum is 20 characters. So think about the names, Indian name, right? If last name, some folks will have more than 20 characters. I wouldn't be able to store here in this last name field. Same thing with the first name. If I have more than 15 characters, I cannot store it. Okay, so that's where database designers who are designing it, they will look at all the different requirements, and they'll figure out, hey, 20 not going to be enough, so we need to allow at least 50 characters for both fields and storage. Okay, so that's the database design process. You guys will not never do it, but you need to understand it. How much you need to understand certain aspect of this database design. Okay, but you guys will not create this design, but you need to understand it. Okay, so data table definition will include fields, some type, and how big the fields are for the storage. Okay, now how do you organize the data, right? So the way you can organize the data is by creating the relationship among the tables. So let's talk one example here. What is a relational database? Okay, so let's understand the concept. So let's say this is our customer table. Okay, customer. So I'm just storing the name. So this one is a name. Okay, then I have some type of ID, and then I have phone. Okay, now if I'm storing the address, okay, so I will have a different table called address, and it contains certain records and rows. Okay, so this is address table. So I have an address called 1 Riverside Plaza, Columbus, and Ohio. Then I have High Street, 1 High Street, right? So I'm not going to type it here. Actually, let me pull up the other spreadsheet here so that we can, okay, whiteboard. Okay, this one. So I have this one. Oh, you guys are not able to see. All right. Okay, let's come back here. Give me a second. Okay. All right. Hopefully you guys can see it now. Okay. So this is our customer, right? Table. So I have ID, name, and phone. Okay. So these three pieces of information is organized in this table. And ID can be 1, 2, name is John Doe, Jane Doe, and whatever the phone number they have, right? 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay. Now I have another table called address. Okay, and the address has a one field in there, which is nothing but address field. Okay, so this is one field in it has, and it has a one Riverside Plaza. Columbus. The second one is 1 High Street, Dublin, doesn't matter. Okay. So this is how I have organized the information, right? So looking at this table, can I tell which address is I got shut off. Okay, let's see. Give it a minute. Come back. Okay, so we were talking about relational database, right? So if I organize, so I have only 2 tables in my customer database, right? And in one table I have ID, name, and phone, and second table I have address. So if in order to identify the address, right now address table does not contain anything but address. So how do I know this address belongs to this customer or this address belongs to this customer? Okay, so what the relational database says is, and that is the concept we are talking about here. The tables are connected via fields within a table that are shared by a pair of tables. So in order to create the relational tables or relate the records, what typically happens in the relational database, you carry over the ID. So this ID is unique for the customer. So all I have to do is add another field in the address table that it says it's ID. Okay, so it's an ID field. Okay, so I can associate, and I will store the value here, and here again it's a 1. Okay, so these two, what it says is these 2 addresses belongs to customer ID 1. Okay, so now I can relate these tables. If I'm writing the queries or pulling the information, I can write the query so that I can pull the address for John Doe for both of these addresses in my queries. So all it says, so let's go back to the definitions here. Tables are connected or related via fields within the table that are set by a pair of tables. So if I go back here, this ID field, right? relates back to the customer tables ID field. It's the same as other field, other table. Okay, so that's the definition. So if I have a, let's say tomorrow, I will add another field here, another table to store additional information about this customer. Okay, so let's say tomorrow I'm adding, let's see, orders. Okay, customer orders. Okay, and this one will have whatever the products they order and the date they order. Okay, so how do I relate to this table? I carry again this ID field here, and it will say customer order one, customer number one, he ordered pencils on this particular day. Customer ordered, customer number two, this guy, Jane Doe, ordered whatever, soap on this particular day. Okay, so now this table is also related to the customer table. Okay, so that's how the relationship you will typically see in the, that's how the information will be organized into different tables in the relational database. Okay, any question here? What is relational database? Okay. This is the concept. Okay, whenever you are dealing with any database, most likely you are working with the relational database, and this is how the information will be organized. Okay, so let's move on. So okay, so let's understand one more concept. Somebody has to design these databases, right? And somebody has to come up with what is related and how the information will be organized and everything. So you guys will not be doing that. Okay, that's a good part, right? Because that's not what your expertise is, or you don't want to do that. So generally, when you get to collect the requirement, right, it's given to the lead developer or architects. During the design process, they will go through the process called for database design, which is called normalization or data modeling. Okay, so it's a first step in the database design process. So they will look at, analyze everything that's given to them in the requirement. So they will look at if they are working on Airflow, right? So they will look at the credit application information, the big form they have, right? And they will start picking out, oh, we are storing the credit application. It has a joint credit applicant. It has this many elements, data elements we have to store. So they will start drawing out some type of conceptual model. They will develop some type of logical model as well. Okay, so there is a concept called conceptual model, logical model, and the physical model. So they will go through the process, and ultimately they will organize the information into the database, which can be implemented in the actual software. Okay, so normalization is a process of organizing data or coming up with the database design. Okay, so that's the process they follow through. As I said, you guys will not do that, but you just understand the terminology. If you remember, it's good. If not, it's okay as well. Okay, but I just want to get you some bigger level picture. How do they come up? Generally, if you are computer science, there is one session, one semester they will spend on the design, because it's a complex process. Okay, in the Columbus State, if you attend any database class, first thing they will start is, hey, let's say the database design class first. Then you go actually dive into the database development or whatever you are doing. Okay. So this, at the end of this process, right, you will have, this includes creating the tables and establishing relationship between those tables. So the way I showed you right here, what is the relationship? Carrying out IDs, assign the IDs, identify those IDs for every table, and create these relationships. That's the goal of the process. And in our QA camp, we spend one full 4 or 5 hour session on the design process as well. Because that's important for you to understand. Who are basically, depending on if you are doing a developer, you have to master this concept. Because ultimate goal is you should be able to design and implement the tables. Okay. All right. So what's the modeling process looks like? So this is how the model, they will start drawing on piece of paper or tool. If they are using any tool, they will come up with some type of this data model. Okay. So for example, this is a data model for the, if you are going any retail shopping, right? This is typically the data model looks like for retail purchase, okay, or retail systems. So you have a customer. I'm just showing you how you can read it, okay? Because now, why I'm telling you about these models, right? Even though you are not creating the model, you need to be able to interpret these models, okay? Because any query that you will write, you have to understand how the data is organized into tables. In order to do that, imagine you have Rflow tables, right? You have 50 tables. And if you're writing the query, you need to pull the information from multiple tables or go into tables and write your queries so that you can verify the information. Okay. Without this model, you cannot write your queries. Understanding how the data is organized into a database, you cannot write your queries. So this is the first part or first step of understanding the database tables and structure. Okay. So generally, in this type of models, now this is a logical model, okay? A logical model starts with the drawing board exercise, right? So customer, what it says the customer information is stored, organized, and this guy might have name, ID, and address, phone, whatever, the data elements associated with the customer. Customer is, there is order information, order table, you can think of it that way, which might contain number, order number, right? And maybe something else, but it will also contain customer. So this one has ID, so customer ID is also associated in this table, okay? So there is a customer is related to the customer order. Order table, order will have order line, and product also contains in the order line. So this one is a little bit different. Let's talk about Rflow. Okay, so that might give you a little bit more context. So do you guys know what type of information we are storing in Rflow? What information we are storing in Rflow? What are the different information we store? Okay. Okay, so you have a dealer, right? Let's talk about the piece of grouping, right? So we have dealer, we create lenders, right? We update lenders, so we have lender. So dealer is a company, right? Lender is also a company. Then both of them have users. We have users information because all the logins and stuff, right, goes in there. And finally, what we have, the dealer creates credit application, lender works with the credit apps, all those things, right? You are creating the credit apps. So you have credit applications. Anything else we are storing? So manage lenders, you create lenders, manage the lender, dealers, you have users, you have credit apps. Anything else there? In Rflow, did you guys do anything else? Well, you have reports, right? But it's a reading pretty much. You are not creating anything or storing anything. Okay. So if I'm a designer, right? So I know this 4 pieces of information will be stored. Now this might have 500 fields, right? Doesn't matter. credit card has. This might have probably 50 because you have dealer account number. If you looked at the screens, right? All this piece of information. Lender will have maybe 20 fields, different fields, lender name, address, phone number, all those things. And the users will have passwords, user ID, all these things will goes along with the user. So maybe about 20 fields here with the user. Okay. Now we are talking about logical model, right? So how the logical model says these entities are related. Okay, these tables are related. Okay, so what does dealer does with the credit app? What does the dealer do? Create credit app, right? Or submits, basically.
After creating, submits.
Right, it doesn't matter, right? Create, submit, it's part of the same process. Now imagine you are a German Honda. Are you going to be submitting one credit app or more than one? More than one, right? So this one dealer, German Toyota, right, can submit maybe 50 or 500. We don't know, right? But we know it is more than one. Can they submit any, or can they have 0 applications? Because if they are brand new dealer, they may not have any credit apps, right? The way you can model that or show in the modeling diagram is that there is a notation. So one dealer, this one says 1, okay? This is 2 lines, can submit 0 or more credit applications. So this symbol says 0 or more. And I'll show you, I have given you these notations. Okay. Now, this is one relationship. This is how you can start establishing the relationship among the tables or entities. Okay, it's called entities. It's on the logical model. Now, what about dealer and the users? What is the relationship between them? So dealer has certain type of users, right? Again, one dealer can have 0 or more users or employees. Users are nothing but dealer employees, right? What about lender? Is there a relationship between dealer and lender? What is the relationship?
Dealer has to fix the lender to apply the credit application.
So is there a direct relationship between dealer and lender?
No, it is through the credit.
It is through the credit app, right?
Application.
So we don't have this relationship here between dealer and lender. Okay. So the relationship is established through the credit apps only, because when you select the credit app, they will say, okay, which the lender it will go. But there is no direct relationship between dealer and lender. Okay. So this line is not there. Okay. Now lender can submit or can approve or reject many applications, right? Or 0, depending on how many they have, and work through that. Okay. So again, this diagram notation 0, it says one lender can submit 0 or approve or reject 0 or many credit applications. Same thing, lender has users, right? So one lender has 0 or many users. Because if it's a brand new lender, I may not have created any users. Okay. Now it's a relationship. Think about it. If it's a one-way relationship, it does not work, right? In the real life as well. So it has to work both ways in the database. So what I mean by that, so I'm reading it this way, right? One lender has 0 and many users. Now user belongs to one lender. That's what it says. Is that really true? Can I have a same employee working for multiple lenders? But does the R-flow requirement says that it's possible?
No.
Right? It does not say that. So this relationship works. One user only belongs to one lender. That's what it says. Okay, same thing for dealer users. user belongs to only one dealership at a time. It cannot work for multiple dealers. So that's how the relationships are, right? It has to work both ways. Now, credit application is submitted by a single dealer only, right? That's true, because it doesn't, two dealers cannot submit one credit app. And the same credit application goes to the only one lender. Now, instead of the drop down, right, in the lender on the credit application page, if they have selection of lenders, then it can go to multiple lenders, right? Multiple. Then this relationship would have changed something like that. One or more lender. Okay. So this symbol says, so this is the symbol. Okay. One or more lender. I'm just giving you some basics, okay? Because you have to interpret this type of diagram when you are first interacting with any brand new database. Somebody will hand you over, hey, look at this diagram. This is how the information is organized into the tables. Then you can write your queries. Okay. This is how the R flow is structured. And that's the, I think, diagram you will see in the design as well. Okay. So is everybody good interpretation wise, at least some basic idea about it? Any question on this one? Okay, so let's come back. So again, now you can read this diagram and should be able to interpret it. One customer places, it doesn't have 1 or 0 here, right? But I can put that here. Okay, so what it says is one customer places one or many order. Order belongs to one or many order line. Okay, and product is part of one or many order line. So if you look at your retail buyer's grocery list, right? So you will find it, okay, there is an order number and there are other things that are associated. And you should be able to read this or interpret how this is organized in there. Okay. So this is a logical diagram. It does not have much information about the actual fields, right? It just shows the relationship. Okay. This is called logical diagram without much detail around it. Okay. Virtually represent relationship between database entities. That's all. Now, once level down, which includes more detail, which is called physical diagram. It has details about the fields and the actual what fields are there and what relationship it has created. And generally, we implement the physical database design or physical diagram and start creating the tables based on the physical diagram. Okay, so logical diagram is more starting process for the data modeling. And you can come up with the physical diagram based on that. But there are two things, important things. So physical diagram, you will start identifying database tables and relationship between them. Okay, so primary keys and foreign keys. These are one important concept. So let's come back here. So this is a logical, right? So let's take a look at dealer. Now, do you guys know what type of information is stored with the dealer table? So you have address. So these are fields, okay? So I'm now listing out the address will contain city, state, zip, all those things differently. Then you will have some type of shop ID. You have name. You have bank details. I think you saw some EFT numbers and so forth. Bank details, all those things. Now, generally, the shop ID is a unique number that will identify, that is given to every dealer. Same thing, you have a franchise number. Again, this is a unique number for every dealer, right? So what the rule says for physical, when you start designing, applying the rules, it says you need to have some value that identifies every record uniquely into the table. So here I have some auto-generated number, shop ID, or this is also a unique number. So I can pick this one as my primary key or this one as a primary key. So concept called primary key. What it says is that in every table, you need to have at least one primary key field that identifies record uniquely into the table. Okay. So here you can have franchise number or shop ID. You can associate because both are unique. You can mark them as a primary key. Okay, one of them. So shop ID we are marking in the dealer table. Okay. So what it means is if I add a German Toyota, so its system will auto-generate and mark it assign one since it's the first one, right? Then I have a Tansky. So if I create a Tansky dealer, it will automatically assign a unique number 2 in the shop ID field. It will also have franchise number, okay, which is generated uniquely. But if I keep on adding, this number will be generated and it will automatically be assigned. So every table will have a primary key in its own right. So every table. So if I talk about users table, so I know username, right, is unique. I can mark that as a primary key, or I can assign some type of ID, just like I assigned for the dealer, and mark it as a primary key. And this is what it's marked in the database table as a primary key ID, not the username. Okay, for users table. Same thing, every lender. Every lender, I will have a lender ID assigned to them, mark it as a primary key, and so forth. Okay. So that's the primary key. So in this example here, right? So in the book table, I have book ID, some unique number assigned to every book, and this is marked as a PK, which is a primary key. Book has chapters, right? So here, chapter ID is unique, and assign some unique number as a primary key. Now let's take a look at it. How do we assign the relationship between the tables? Okay. So let's come back to this example here. I'm going to draw it fresh here. Okay, so I'm going to start putting the whatever we discussed, right? Primary key. So I'm going to start identifying first. So I have a shop ID here. I have some type of ID here with the credit app, some type of unique number. So you see the application ID, right? So this is what the application ID is. I'm marking as a unique number. So every time I create a new credit app, some ID will be generated and assigned to that. This one will have a user ID, unique, and this one will have a lender ID. Okay. Now remember, we have a relationship here, 0 or many users. Now I need to relate the dealer record with a user, right? If I create a new user, I'm picking out shop ID. Remember that in the Rflow? And this is a model notation or logical. So how do I relate this table with this table? So easiest way is you carry over shop ID and put it in the user table. Okay. Same thing. If I want to relate lender with the user and show this 0 to many relationship, I need to add lender ID here. so that I can relate this user and lender table. Now these two tables are related, right? 0 or many credit apps. It's the same way I carry over this ID here. So every credit app will have shop ID. And every credit app will have a lender ID. Okay. So this is how you can start creating the relationship in the table. Now let's understand what is a foreign key, right? So we talked about primary key. So primary key, shop ID is a primary key, application ID is primary key, user ID is primary key, and lender ID is a primary key for respective table. But when you carry the shop ID to users table, in the user table, shop ID refers back to the dealers table. So what it is shop ID in the users table is called a foreign key. Foreign key nothing but points to some other table, wherever the primary key is located. Okay. So this shop ID points back to the dealers table, and this shop ID, lender ID in the users table points back to the lender table. Okay. So lender ID is a foreign key. Shop ID is also foreign key, which points to other tables. Okay. Again, if it sounds too complicated, don't worry about it. Basically, when we actually look at the tables, hopefully it will clear it, certain things. Okay. But these are a couple of important things to understand. Any question before I move on from this one? Do you guys understand primary key? It's a unique number or unique key assigned to every table. And foreign key is nothing but foreign key points to some other table, tells some other table and its primary key in a different table. So that when I'm writing queries to pull the users for dealer, then I can join these two tables, dealer and user, and pull out all the information in a single query using primary key, foreign key. Okay. Then if you put SQL on the resume, I think they will ask you what is primary key. I think this is most a common question. Okay. And what is foreign key, and just explain certain things conceptually. I think we talked about relationship, right? So here it says one-to-one, one-to-many. There are three types of relationship and many-to-many. Okay, so let's come back here. So I'm just going to show you the notations here. These are the possible notations. Okay. So this relationship, if I have it between the tables, it says a one-to-one. So what does it mean? So let's say instead of this relationship, we have one-to-one between dealer and user. So what does it mean for the database design? So one dealer or dealership has only one employee. An employee belongs to only one dealership. So I cannot have more than one employee working at the dealership. That's what it says. And our flow will not store it. Okay. Same thing, if I have dealer and credit app one-to-one, dealer can submit only one credit application, which is not true, right? Because that's not, so it's a bad design. Because dealer should be able to submit more than one. Okay. So that's what one-to-one says. One-to-many, this is a 1-to-0 or many. Right? This is one-to-many. And this is a many-to-many. Okay, so many dealer, basically one dealer can submit one or more credit application can belong to one or many dealer. That's what it said. Okay, which is not true in our case. So we don't have any many-to-many for our flow database. Okay. So that's what these notations are. And this is how the relational database or relational tables will look like. This is a different example here. So here it's a department table, an instructor table, right? So here I'm carrying over department number to the instructor table to relate these two tables. So department number is a primary key here. Instructor number is a primary key in the instructor table. And in the instructor table, department number points back to department number field into the department table. So what this field is called? Foreign key, right? This is called foreign key in the instructor table, which points back to some other table, primary key. Okay. This table, does it have any foreign key? It does not have any foreign key, right? Because it says only primary key in this table. Okay, so that's a primary key, foreign key. The way you can establish relationship is through primary key, foreign key columns. Again, it's nothing but the same column you are carrying over to different tables to relate the records. Okay. Now, primary key is generally, it has only one column. Primary key has only one column, okay? And it's uniquely identifies. And when you have primary key, it does not have any duplicate values in the column, okay? Rows or values in the same column. Now, as I said, generally it's a one column you can create a primary key on, but there are certain scenarios you might want to have combination of columns and make it part of the primary key. So that is possible. You can do that. But in the real life, you will typically have one column identified as a primary key, some type of number you can auto increment and so forth. Okay. So we talked about foreign key as well, helps identify the relationship and so forth. So think about the normalization, right? The database design. So you start with the Excel spreadsheet like this, right? When you actually apply the normalization rules and all those things, you will get this many tables, which will have primary key, foreign key relationships, and it is organized in better manner. It will not have any duplicate values stored and so forth. Okay, so you start with this spreadsheet data and you start organizing the information in the different tables here. That's what the database design will do. Okay, you apply those rules, complicated rules, and it will come up with, hey, this is the database design you want to implement so that it will eliminate any redundant data storage and all those things. And it's designed for query retrieval or record retrieval and insert updates and creates and so forth. Okay. So as I said, on any project you go on, you ask for, hey, tell me the data model, and they will get you a piece of paper. And if it's a find their tables, they'll get you a big plotter printout or something, or they will send you some electronically. You need to understand the relationship before you write any queries. Okay, without that you cannot write your queries. You look at here, right? So you have different tables here. Now, if you don't know the relationship, you have to look at each table and start figuring out how do I write the query so that pull the information from multiple tables and so forth. So you need to have ER models, modeling diagrams. Okay, any question on the database design side of things? So this is just a design, okay? We haven't looked at any SQL side of things. But once you create these tables, That's where you need to start looking at SQL. Kind of thing. So SQL, right, is a structured query language. It's a programming language. Okay, so it's a language. I have seen 1,000 lines of code in SQL as well for the lot of complex. Easily it goes to 1,000 lines. It's perfectly fine. Generally, the programming code, right? C# or Java, it's a millions of lines. Basically, programmers write. SQL is thousands of lines. Somebody is writing the program in SQL. Okay. Now, you need SQL to interact with the database, any database. Just like web services, right? You need some other tool. Here, SQL is more of a tool that so you can insert, update, create some data and read some data from the tables. Used for query retrieval or creating new stuff, new records. And it's good thing is it's a standard set of commands. So let me show you what it means. Okay. So let's talk about here. All right. Okay. So we are talking about standard set of commands. So imagine you have Rflow database. Now, what are the things you can do with Rflow? So if you're working with Rflow application, right? So what are the typical activities that you do? You search, right? And what does the search do? Based on the criteria you supplied, it fetches the information and shows on the screen. Okay, so you basically read the information, right? That's the one action you are doing. Then what you do, you create a new stuff, right? New dealer, new apps, all those things. Create is another thing. Then you have update. Anything that you modify, existing dealer information, again, you are updating and delete, right? So you are doing CRUD operation, CRUD. Okay, that's what you are doing. Anything else feasible? Probably not. If you really look at it, all the apps, all activities you are doing is CRUD operations, nothing else. Okay. So in order to do this operation, there are set of commands in the SQL that you need to learn. So if you are reading it, right? So there is a set of command called select. Okay. So there are select statements in the SQL. If you are creating anything, there is a set of command called insert. If you are updating anything, command called update. And if you are deleting anything, command called delete. Okay. So these commands are used for dealing with the data, basically. When you are creating new records, updating, select, insert, update, and delete. These are 4 set of commands. Now, do you do anything delete in the Rflow? You pretty much don't, right? So there is no delete command for you for Rflow, but these are in general 4 set of commands. Now these commands are very straightforward. Insert, update, delete. Okay, there is not much complexity here in the insert, update or delete. Complexity comes in the select. Okay, so select that's where things can get really complex. And unfortunately, that's the one you have to use the most. The select commands, because that requires the joins and other things from there. Okay. Now there are other commands as well for creating the structure of the database. So you have to create the tables, you have to create the record rows and those things. So these 4 commands are called data manipulation. Or called DML commands, okay, DML. Okay. Whenever you are creating a new database or new table and so forth, there is another set of commands which is called DDL or data definition language, okay. As a QA, you probably will not use those commands, okay, but if you are a developer, yes, you will have to use that, those DDL set of commands and so forth. But QS, you will focus on select, insert, update, and delete. Those 4. Any question on the set of commands? Okay, this is kind of like a high level overview. Okay, so let me just show you what those are and how you can use it. Now, before I go there, so if you want to verify anything, right, from the database, so you're writing a lot of select statements. So you go in the table and check, hey, did this thing get populated properly or not? Does all the fields have information and so forth? Now, if you are creating your test data, right, most likely you will have to use insert statements and populate multiple tables. Okay, your test data. If you are, let's say your user module is not ready, but you are testing the dealers. So you have to log into you have to create a bunch of users in the users table. And you will use insert statements for that. Okay. If you are at the end of the testing, you have to wipe out the data using the delete command. Okay. And update is if you miss anything, you have to go and update your test data. So you will use update for that. Okay. So SQL has set of commands, right? Insert, update, can delete, data manipulation, language commands. So let's start with the select. I'll show you quickly, and then I'll show you the exercises or work through that working example. So this is the basic command, select as it. And what it says is here, select last name, first name. So every table will have some type of columns where you are storing the information. So in the select command, you can specify what fields you are pulling. Okay. So that's what this command says here. Now, in this slide, it shows, so you identify what field you are pulling, right? Select whatever the field, but you have to say that what table you need to pull the information from. Okay, so this is where you have from clause. Okay, so it says pull last name, first name columns from the student table. So it will return you all the information from the students table from there for those 2 specific columns. Then there is a where clause here. So this particular syntax, right? This is the syntax here. So I'm pulling certain fields from particular table where now if you don't have where this clause, right? And if you are running these 2 lines, then it will pull all the records. Okay, if there are 1,000,000 records, it will dump 1,000,000 records. But generally, when you are verifying, you want to pull a specific record. So that's where you need to add a where clause. And it says Boolean expression. So where first name is equal Bob. So it will pull all the records where the first name is matching with the Bob. So you're applying the filter condition. And this is a Boolean statement. So what is a Boolean expression? This evaluates into true or false. True or false. Okay. And if it's true, then return include in the results, and it will return in the query result. Okay. That's what the where clause does. Applies filtering condition. So here, right, in this example, So I have a textbooks table. Okay. And this is my query. So what records it will return? So select star from textbooks. Now star meaning give me all the columns from whatever table you have specified here. Okay, that's what the star means. So instead of typing title, price, category, publisher, I'm just saying give me star. Yeah, all the columns. Where category equals computers. Okay, so it will look into category column and say, oh, computers, this is what is being written in the results. That's the output of the query. Okay, so if I change here, instead of category, if I say price greater than 85, I can do that. I'm putting a different field here. So what it will return? If I say price greater than 85. So it will look at the price column and it will say, oh, greater than 85. No, yep, this 3. So it should return all 3 records in the query. That's how the where clause works. Okay, filtering condition. So again, price less than 110, right? So it will return. There are, as I said, there are so many variations you can do with the SQL in combination, but this is another example. So here it will return those 2 records. Okay. There is a concept called joins, right? Now here in this query, it's a single table, right? Right now it's a single table and it's returning from one table all the information. But what if you have more than one table and you want to return the information in a single query? That's where you have to utilize joins in the database. And there is a way to write the joins. So here what it says in this query is select textbooks.title. So select so think through. This is a textbooks. Actually, let's come back here. So this is a textbook table with these 4 columns, right? So I'm selecting the title, then price and required from the course text. So there is another table here. So I'm joining the textbooks table with the course text table on textbooks.title equals course.title. So let's see if I have it here. Okay, this one makes it easier. So there is a textbooks table, course text table, title, price, category, publisher, title, course, and required. So how these 2 tables are related? Can you tell me? Primary key, foreign key, or the common columns. Okay, so it's not necessarily that you always have primary key column. As long as you have a common column, and what is common here between these 2 tables?
Title.
Right, title, and it has the same values, right? So as long as you have those common columns, you can join those 2 tables. Okay, so that's what it has done here. Select, how do you join it? You can say inner join course text. So textbooks with the course text on what fields you are joining. Textbooks.title equals course text.title. So I'm specifying the join condition here. Okay, so it will join on these 2 columns, and anywhere they have matching values, Java intro, advanced C, it will pull into the query result. Okay, so that's what it does. And then it looks at where category is computers. So first it will pull these 2 columns, right? These 2 records, because these 2 are common in both tables. Then it will apply category equals computer filter conditions. And it will return me these 2 records. Okay, because both of them have a computers. What if this one has something else, maybe math? Java intro has math. What it should return with this query? Only one, right?
Only one.
Because Java intro is no longer has this condition. So it will join on this 2. So this 2 is left. Then it will apply the filter on top of it, and it will pull only at 1C because that's the one is matching with the condition. And that's it. Things do get complex in the queries when you are writing the queries and so forth. But that comes with the practice as well. Okay. But that's how you can specify join, pull the information. Typically in the real life, you will be joining 5 tables or maybe 7 tables in the pulling out the information from the queries. So you keep on adding multiple join conditions, inner join, or left join, right join. There are different types of joins as well. Okay. Any question here? All right, so let me show you in our Rflow. Okay, Rflow database. I don't want you to follow right now. Let's just pay attention here. Okay. So let me close out the tool first. So I'm going to the SQL. If you install everything correctly, you should have Sql Management Studio as well on your machine. Okay. If you follow the instructions I sent you. So I'm typing in SQL and it pops up that Management Studio. I have 18, you probably have 19, I think. You can install 19, doesn't matter. It probably will take some time to load it, depending on your computer speed. But you won't be able to do anything, what I'm doing, because you don't have database on your machine, okay? Okay, so first thing it will pop up as soon as it opens. It says, where is your database? So you don't want to change anything, just click on connect. And if everything is running properly on your machine, you should be fine. It should connect without any problem to the database. Okay, so on the left side, you will see the databases. This is where all your databases will be. Now, again, you don't have anything on your machine. Okay, and I'll show you how you can install the Rflow database. Okay, but that's after I show you the demo. We'll work through that. So at least you can do some practice from home if you need. Okay, so here I have one database called Rflow. Yours will be empty. You will not have any database. Now the way you can expand, so get familiar with the tool. So expand plus minus, so you can expand the database. Now, as I said, you can have 500 databases. It will just work fine. Different applications will have different databases. Okay, so I'm expanding that. Then it will expand into multiple folders. The important ones are for tables for you, because this is where all the tables are stored for the Rflow. Okay, this is where we are organizing the information. So I'll expand that, collapse, expand. Okay. Now, as you can see here, when I expand it, I see a bunch of tables here. Okay. You want to stick to the one that we are talking about: credit application, lenders, dealers, and users. 4 tables. Those are important ones. Now you can see the definition of the table. So you can expand again dbo.user, and it will have some type of columns, keys, constraints. Columns is the one where you can see all the fields. So again, get familiar with the how do you expand, collapse, and look at the fields and so forth, definition. So here I have user ID as a marked as a PK, primary key. You guys can see it, right? From there, username, password. So it's a bunch of fields here. Now for foreign key relationship, right? I have lender ID here, so which points back to the lender table and so forth. Just like what we saw in the design. Okay. Now, how do I write my queries, right? So let's say I'm writing the query on the users table to see what I have in the database. Okay, so you have this table selected and you have this new query window. So here, this is the important one, okay? So you have to click on new query. So it will open the query window for you here. Now you can write all your SQL commands right there. Okay. Again, so tables, right? Let me just repeat it. So I have a database. Once I install it, right? Once you guys install it, expand it, Airflow, expand tables, and then you will be able to see all the tables. If you want to see any structure related for database table design, you can click on that particular table, see the columns, and you will see all the fields. Anything that's marked primary key is a primary key. Okay. And this one has probably 200 fields application, right? It's a big table. The important part, where do you write your queries, right? As a QA, generally you will be writing in the query window. This is where you can write all your statements. So let's say I want to see all the records in the user table. So I will just say select star from users. This is my basic command. There is nothing else. Okay. And I will run it. Run means execute. This is execute. Or you can do Control E on your machine if you are using Windows machine. Okay. And it will show the basically all the fields, star meaning pull all the fields and show it at in the query window. Okay, so these are the 17 users we have. And you can see the password for them, all the user. And then you have some work phone related, all different attributes that you can see on the user interface. Same thing is stored here. Okay, so now let's say I want to pull up specific user information. Let's say I want to pull up only HP or JSmith user information. Okay, so what I need to do, I need to add a where clause where username is equal JSmith. Okay, and I'll execute again. Click on execute. Now I can see only JSmith record here. Okay, there are a lot of variations here in the SQL, but I'm not going to go through all, but I just will just show you some basic ones. Okay. All right. So let's come back here. Let me find the lender table here. So if I want to see everything from the lender, how many lenders? So I will just say select star from lenders. Okay, so there's a lender table pops up. You just select it and run it. So I have only 2 lenders in the system in my database. Okay, lender and test lender 2. Okay. Now, what if I want to add a new lender? I did not show you any insert or update commands. Okay, but I'm just going to show you one example of it because that's something requires some syntax practice as well. So let me come back here and pick out the lender here. This is a small table, so I can show you one insert. How do you create the records? Okay, so lender has primary key, company name, street address, all are nullable. So I think I should be fine. So I can write insert command, insert into lenders table. And I can say field company name, street address 1, and everything else is optional. So I think I can will be fine. But again, there is a 2 set of commands. Here I can say ABC lender and then 1 Riverside Plaza. Now it's a programming, right? So you have to follow certain syntax for the insert statement. So what it says is insert into, this is the command, what table you are inserting the record into. And then you specify what fields you are inserting the records. Okay. Then second line says what values you are inserting into this column. It has to be in the same order. As I said, I mean, it requires a lot of practice as well to remember the syntax and so forth. But I'll just show you this command quickly. When I execute this command, it says 1 row is affected. That means my record is inserted successfully. And if I run my query again, select star from lenders. So I'll select this because I want to run only this. Okay. So I'll select that line and execute. So my test lender, I have ABC lender is inserted with the values I supplied. So this is how you typically create test data. Okay. If you don't have lender module ready, you have to write insert statements and work through that. Let me quickly show you delete command. So delete is straightforward, delete from lenders, where I want to delete this ABC one, right? I just inserted or created, where lender ID is equal to 22. So I will delete this lender ID 22 record, this record from the lenders table. So it says 1 row is affected. And if I run this select command again, that record is no longer there. Okay, so that record is gone. So this is how you can delete it. After your test is run, you can wipe out all the test data that you created. Okay. If you create a bunch of credit apps through these commands, you can wipe it out at the end and start fresh, the database. And let me show you one more command. Again, this is a programming language. It requires a lot of time, practice to master the skills. Okay, I'm just giving you some basic command. You have to pick up on the select side. Make sure you practice when you get a chance. And you will have the database on your machine, so you can work through Airflow database. So update command. So I'm going to show you update quickly. So let's say I want to update the address for this lender ID 20 because I inputted wrong thing. Now assume you don't have a user interface here built. Okay, so update street address. So you have to specify update what table. So you are saying lenders table. There is a set of syntax you have to follow. So set whatever column you are updating. So street address 1 equals whatever new value you are specifying. Okay, so I will say 1 Riverside Plaza. Then what record you are updating. So I want to update lender ID 20 record, this particular record. So where lender ID equals 20. Okay, so update what table, what field you are updating. If you have multiple fields, you can specify by comma and then say city equals Dublin. Okay, so it will update both of these fields, this one and this one, and put the new values. So I'm going to run that. It says 1 row is affected, and I will run that query again. It will say 1 Riverside Plaza and Dublin. Okay, so that's the way to have these commands. Okay, any question on these commands? I know it's a lot. Okay, this is you're not going to master overnight. You have some practice, and I'll point you. What you can do is to pick up the basic syntax. Okay. Again, your best friend is W3 Schools. Okay. Here, pick the SQL. SQL somewhere here. Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, learn SQL. So I was talking about the syntax right here. So they have different examples, but you can work with the actual Airflow that you are familiar with. Okay, so select command here. Come on. Okay, select. So again, select table name, right? This is the general syntax. They have a demo database, but what you can do is follow what I showed you here, select whatever table and basically work through that. Then you will have the where clause, right? If you want to follow that exercise, which is fine, this is a demo database and you are working through select star from customer where country is equal Mexico. That's what it says, right? This is the data that they're given to you. Okay, so you can work that way as well. Let me see if try this thing will work. Okay, so if you run this query and out of the whatever table they have it will return the records according to that. Okay, returns only the Mexico. But you cannot download this data onto your machine. You have R-Flown one, which you will have. Okay, so go through that. I think it would be good to get the SQL. What I would focus into insert, right? So select where clause, some variations like order by, but insert into command. As I said, this is the syntax. Insert into table, what columns and what values. Okay. And you can write it something similar to the, once you understand the syntax, then you can write it right here for the lenders table. Use the lenders table. Follow the same thing. Yeah, other ones gets really complex. So I would stop at probably insert and update what I showed you, basic ones, and that should be good. Yeah, sky is the limit as a programming language with this one.
For creating table, this table.
Yeah, what you can do is if you want to create some quickly, I'll show you right here. You don't have to write anything, just right click on it, tables folder, say new table. Okay, let's say name, you have to associate data type. Okay, so you can pick only with default char 10 is 10 characters. It will allow up to 10. But otherwise you can pick like a char varchar. So varchar is generally varchar 50. Okay, name, address, varchar 100. Okay, and then ID, and this is a number, right? So I can say integer some number I can put it in, and I'll store it as let's say students. Okay, all right, so that's one way of creating a table, right? You have everything there. The only thing you didn't have is a primary key. Don't worry about that creating. Okay, yeah, you are fine if you don't have it. But my table should show up here on the left side. If you don't see it, don't panic. Okay, we just need to refresh it. So this is the refresh key. All right, so it will show it and it will be there here. Okay, and then so I'll close out. You don't need it, and let me wipe out this one. Now, if I run it, select star from students. Right now, it doesn't return anything because there is no data in the table. Okay, so now if I want to insert something, insert into students, and then we have 3 columns, insert student name and address, right? Let's say ID 1, John Doe, and address. So you need to follow the syntax. Okay, any number values you don't have to put quotes, but any text values you have to put the quotes around it. Okay, single quotes. This is single quote. 1 Riverside Plaza, Columbus 4324215. Okay, so I have these fields. Says 1 rows affected. And fine. So now I will have record 1. If I do second one, increase it to Riverside Plaza, and I can say Jane Doe. Insert and run it. So now I have 2 records in the table.
How do you set the primary key for ID?
So generally, you have this database, right? So you go to the design, and here at the bottom, you can say primary key here somewhere. Let's see here. This column, this primary key. I'm used to typing the basically syntax or commands. So let's see if it's here somewhere. I think you can mark it here. Let's see. Modify. In the designer is a little bit different. Okay, primary key identity. Oh yeah, but here you cannot modify it, I think. So this is a read-only properties. So I'm just trying to see. Otherwise, I can do what I can do is. Let me find the alter syntax. So you can search on this certain command. Okay, how do you alter the tables and there are create, alter, drop. Those are data manipulation, data definition type of commands. So you can look into and basically follow the syntax. Get a unique constraint and click design. Okay, which click design. That's what we did. Table designer, set primary key. Let's see. Okay, here. All right, let's do one thing. So I'm generating the existing table, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop this table, right click and delete. Okay. So it will delete out all the tables and everything. Now I'll just specify primary key right in the SQL command. Okay. So this is the way you can do it. Int primary key constraint and null. Oh, nullable column, okay, not null. Right. So now it command completed successfully. And now if I go and refresh it, come on. Created somewhere. Let's see where it created. Yeah, it's in the outflow. Students.
What you deleted that time?
No, I just created it again.
I thought we deleted it.
No, use Airflow and create table student. So if I run it again, I will get an error. Okay, because it says table already exists. Okay, I'm just not able to see it on the left side. That's what I'm trying to see.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's do old way. Refresh. Other refresh didn't work, so I'm gonna try it here. Yep, there you go.
There you go.
Okay. So here the table is there, and if I now expand it, I'll see primary key identified for that. So what it means is, if I try to insert into students, right? And now I have three fields I know: name, address, and ID. Okay, and values. So let's say first one is John Doe, 1 Riverside Plaza, and my primary key is 1. Okay, so I can run this. So it is fine. So I got one record in. Now if I do Jane Doe, and if I forgot to update this ID, if I run it, it says, yep, you can do that because there is a constraint. So you have to update to the unique number. Okay. So this is where it says, yep, okay, it's good. And then you can keep updating third one, fourth one, and so forth.
So the ID we have to put it, or is it like automatic?
So you can mark it as auto number as well, which will automatically increment. Okay, so there are, as I said, SQL is again a lot more things there, but you can update it basically however you need it. Okay, So all I have to do is, let me just show you quickly. So I'm going to drop the table again. Okay. And what I need to add another constraint called identity. And I'll say what number it will start with. So number 1, okay, or let's say 1000, and then it will increment 1. Okay, so any new record, it will start with 1000, then it will increment by 1. If I say step 2, then it will increment by 2. But generally it's sequential. Okay, so I'm going to run this. Says completed successfully, and I know table is there. So now if I do this, okay, since it's auto number, okay, so I will get an error here. Okay, it says you cannot insert value for identity column. Okay, so I don't need to supply ID anymore. Okay, so I need to get rid of that, and I'll start inserting the values, 1 rows, and I can change John Doe, 3rd row, 4th row. Now I can keep on adding. I will have probably 10 records by now, each with the unique number, right? So at 1000, I started goes 15 records here. Okay. As I said, I mean, there is a lot of things. If you are dealing with the SQL, it's again programming language, but it's good to know some basic commands, and you can work with it. Okay, any other question? What we talked about? All right, so let's do one thing before we wrap up today. I want to make sure you have Airflow running on your machine so you can practice from home. Okay. And as I said, definitely do the join. One example from home. If you struggle, it's okay. All right. But definitely pick up some basic syntax, at least select star and running some basic queries. And if you do insert, yeah, it's a straightforward command. Okay, there is not much complexity here, which I think will help you. Okay. So let's log into your laptops, right? And see if you have what you can do is, right, SQL, type in SQL. So you will see SQL Management Studio and run it. Okay, run the program because you need that in order to install the Airflow database. And I already sent you guys the Airflow database in the email. Okay, so what you can do is I sent you the file here. Airflow database backup file. So what I need you to do is download the file. Okay, and it probably goes in some download folder. At least copy the file, whatever file is there, and put it where you can find it. Okay, so I need you to copy the file and put it maybe on the desktop, right? That's the easiest one. Or actually do one thing, or put it in the C temp folder, C temp, and paste it here. Okay, so put the file in the C temp folder. So download from the email, copy and put it in the temp folder.
Your direct manager says that you can get it up and
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you to restore the database. Okay, so make sure you follow the steps with me. Otherwise, you guys will struggle. Okay. What is it? No, you can't open it. You just need to copy it and put it, download it, and put it in the temp folder.
Harshal, when I'm trying to download it, it is giving me option to open with, not copying with. Or
No, just download, right? Download.
yes, that's what I'm doing it.
Yeah, then it should be downloaded into your download folder. You should see that in the download folder. If you go to the download folder, yeah, it will be there.
Okay, I know this, so I just have to copy. It says only open
Yeah.
and save.
Just do save.
And then once you download it, you should be able to use the Outlook edit and show in the folder, it'll open up in that.
Yeah.
folder.
Yep. Yeah, this part is toughest part, okay, to restore the database. So it will take some time. I know everybody needs to catch up.
So copy as path or only just copy and put it in the C drive?
Put it in the temp folder on the C drive. So copy the folder, copy the file, right? C dot alphron.bak, copy it and put it in your C temp folder. Now, if you don't have temp folder, then go ahead and create one. Okay, you know how to create the folder, right? C, right click on the C, new folder, and create a folder called temp. Okay, and that's where you want to copy it afterwards.
Just right click on it. There should be a copy option, just copy. Go to this,
Okay, I don't know how it works on the Mac, so hopefully you guys know where that file is on the Mac.
Right click on it.
Yeah.
Or just do a control.
Okay, so did you download? Yep, you have it, right? Yeah, there you go. Just do right click and say copy. No, right click. I think you're doing the other click. Yep, copy. Or do control C. Okay, now go to the temp folder that you have. In the C drive, go to the C drive. Yep, go to this PC and just double click on C on the right side. And just create a new folder, right click somewhere. Yep, not, yep, somewhere with the white space. Yep, right click, new folder. New folder, yep. And put it, name it as temp. Yep, open the folder. And control V. Yeah, just click there, click on the white space. Yep, control V. Right, there you go. No, you don't open it. Just say show it in folder. Okay, so do control C. Go to your temp folder, C drive. It's at the bottom. Nope, scroll down. C drive, just click on it. Yep. Right. Do you have a temp folder? If not, create a temp folder. Just right click on it somewhere. No, you don't have it. So click on the white space. Go to the white space. All the way here. Right click. Should pop up. Right click here. Yeah, see right. Yep. Is your right mouse not working? Yeah, that's where I need you to make a one folder somewhere. You can go like this now. Can I try something? Okay. So I think is over here. Okay.
So Harshal, after pasting, what we have to do?
Wait.
Okay.
I'm still working with here. All right, you guys are good? Everybody has it? Does everybody has it online?
Yes.
So okay, so every outflow.back is in the temp folder for everybody. Now go ahead and open your SQL, right? You should be on this type of window here. Did everybody open the SQL Management Studio? Type in SQL, click on SQL Server Management Studio, and you should see some screen something like this.
Yes, search on SQL. Yeah,
Want me to create new
there you go.
or open?
No, just SQL, you have it, right? SQL Management Studio.
Azure Data Studio.
Yeah. Azure Data Studio. Okay.
Yeah.
Open. Do the open.
Look at the one.
Try open. See if it.
And open that file, right?
No,
The one
don't
we
open it.
downloaded.
Open it. Hey, hang on. Give me Data Studio is a little bit different. So give me a second. Okay. Create a connection. That's what you want to do. Yeah. So server would be localhost. I'll tell you. Okay, just do localhost.
User folders, not the SQL Server Management Studio.
You don't have SQL Server Admin Studio?
I did download it today.
Did you install it though?
Yes.
Okay. You should see SQL Server Management Studio, or which one you have? Azure Data Studio.
Not the.
So you have this one, right?
Yeah, but first they have to run the server first, right? They haven't had a server running that.
No, did you guys install right through the process for installation?
I did, but it didn't work for me.
Okay. If it didn't work, then hold up on that. I think you are good. You should be good with that.
I think I
Let's see.
they don't need it.
But I didn't know what should I say?
No, don't worry about it. You can just need to connect. Okay, can you open the folder? See what you have. Open the folder. And I can close that. Okay, somehow it didn't install on yours. Okay. Yeah, you might have to reinstall the Management Studio. So these are only the SQL. It's not actually the software program. Yeah.
But I got a message process for
Just look at Prep SQL and see what other apps you have.
Yeah, this one is a SQL, actual SQL. Yeah, I don't think you have.
I got it in the morning, like that one. In the beginning of the class.
Oh, it has it?
Yeah. Vice option.
Yeah. These all files I can see, so they are not the installation program. They are all SQL files. So you might have to restore it, okay? Then we'll work through that on Thursday. Yep, yeah, you're good. Yeah, open it, yeah. See what you have. Yeah. I'm not sure what it is, but I just open it. Yep, click yes. Oh, that's so this is an installation program. All right, so you don't have it either. Okay. Do you have it?
It gave me this toolbox.
Yeah, you don't have it either.
The user.
What I want you to tag along is tag along with somebody. Okay, so that at least you can see it. Okay, and then we'll work through on Thursday for installation for you. No, do the Windows now. Windows, select the option. Okay, so some of you, hopefully everybody has it online. I mean, you guys are able to see Management Studio.
Yes, I can see the Management Studio.
Okay, that's great. Anybody has issue, will work through on Thursday. Okay. All right. So let me just show you quickly how you can restore.
Can I connect it?
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead and connect. So it will pop up a login window, right? Just click connect. See if it works.
Connection error. Due to cable or something.
Okay.
Connected to everything.
Connect with what, Harshal? There are so many
Just,
options.
So you have this one, right? Just click on connect.
Yeah.
See if it works for you guys.
Ready.
I did that part.
Okay. All right. Who is your working? You guys are working. You guys are not working, right? Okay. Okay. This everybody on this side is somehow something wrong with this side. Okay. All right. I'm gonna record it as well, and we'll see. Try installing one more time and reinstall everything. Follow the instruction at home. If it doesn't work, we'll take a look at it on Thursday. Okay. All right. So once you are there, you should be on the data. You should see on this thing on the left side. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody here so far?
Yeah, I had to look for details.
I'm on Mac, so I'm still trying to figure it out, but I think I should be good soon.
Harshal, I
Okay.
cannot see Airflow on my server.
Yes, we haven't installed it yet, so that's the reason.
Okay.
All right. So follow the steps. Stay with me. Okay. Those who has working. All right. At least you guys can have it running. Okay. So now.
MacBook may not work yet because I think it's you have to run the Kerberos.
So Harshal, how to install Airflow?
Yes. I'm walking through step in a minute. I know you guys are getting excited. That's a good thing. Okay. So database is right. Select database. Right click on it. Make sure you right click, not the left click. Okay. Say restore database. Restore database. So you need to select
Should
the
we
database.
click on it?
Well, stay with me. Stay with me.
Okay.
Okay. Restore database. Okay. Just click on it now. Okay. So you will be on this window here. All right. Click on device. Make sure you follow the steps. Click on device. And then you will see 3 dots.
Yes.
All right, click on that. So now what we are trying to do is you need to browse through the file that we store on CTEM, right?
No, I forgot. Where is the 3 dots?
Okay, so I'm
Right
Can
next to
you
it.
go back?
right on the same line here, device, right?
Yes.
3 dots. Right side, you will see 3 dots.
Mhm.
This is I'm clicking. So stay with me on the steps, okay? And then you click on add on this window. Okay, so it will pop up this type of dialog box, and you have to browse. Go to the C drive, go to the temp, and you will pick this file, airflow.bak. Click OK. Click OK. And then you will see how this populated here. And then you click OK. You want me to repeat it, anybody?
Okay, just go find C10.
So go where you stored the file, right? CTEMP.
Done. Just go to C10. Click on the like that. Click OK.
So we have to only save it in the C folder, C drive.
No. This is a backup file, right? So don't worry about, did you show it in CTEMP or not?
No.
Then you need to find where, you need to know where your file is stored. So you need to browse to that location otherwise.
The message you
Where whichever folder you downloaded and stored.
Okay.
That's the reason we ask you to store in the CTEMP so that you can follow the steps.
Database expanded, you should see our folder.
Okay. So now you just need to click OK.
Okay, that's fine. You should be
All right,
able to
just
show-
finish the
click
step.
on the plus next to the database and it should show it.
Click OK and it should populate the database right there.
You see it?
Click
On
OK
the top.
if you are here. Are you seeing this thing?
No.
Yeah.
I have this device and the location.
Oh, you didn't follow the steps? Okay, so I'm gonna repeat it one more
No,
time.
It's there here, but I'm not getting the option. I'm not seeing it.
Did you get it?
Okay, can you go back?
Sorry.
Yeah, yep, click OK, yep. Right, you already had it. It's not populating for you. What's the error is giving? Can you read the error? It's error.
An exception occur while executing the transaction statement of batch.
All right. Okay, is anybody getting error? Okay, they both are good. So you must have something different. How about online folks?
I restored it.
You restored it, okay? So and you have SQL Express installed on your machine?
Yes, 2019.
2019, okay. So let me see what's wrong with yours. Or you have DW configuration and so forth, so you have something else. It's not populating here. It's nothing there. Okay. Just one more time, what's the error? Transaction is open on that. Okay, so you have some error. What I would suggest is, so you follow the steps, all right? It looks like it is there. Well, I'll send you SQL, but you won't have data. That's the only part. I can send you the SQL statements. But this is the easiest way to restore it on your machine. Let me research it, otherwise we'll take a look at it on Thursday. Okay. Try reinstalling it meanwhile at home. See if that helps.
Reinstalling.
Yeah, reinstalling. Yep, yep. Okay. All right. So once you do that, right, you have a database on the left side. And then you should be able to work through the queries and so forth from there on. That's the only part. Okay, you will never do it in the real life. Okay, that's why I need to hold your hand here. Make sure you have it installed and work through it. As a QA, you will never do this thing. Okay, so don't worry about it if you don't understand. But it's just a restoring the database so that you can have all the tables and write a queries on it. Okay, so that you can practice from home. And you know where to go and write the queries, right? So you select the Airflow, and then you click on new query, and that's where you can write your select statements and work through it. And I think when you get a chance, work through it at home. I mean, that's all I wanted to cover for SQL side of things. So.
We are writing a statement. When we put the select, we just have to write queries.
So follow the syntax, right? It's a programming language, right? So you have to follow certain syntax. That's where you can either watch the video again, or I think I would suggest go to the W3 schools because there are syntax, it has and everything. Follow that. Yeah. If you are
So, Harshal, what is our homework?
So practice on the SQL, right? That's obviously your homework. SOAP UI things, there are 2 additional web services. You can see the visual type of thing. And I think that's and the Jira, right? You have to write at least few test cases to the Jira. So those 3 things.
So for SQL, we can play around with create.
Yeah, it's your database,
create,
right?
update, delete.
Yep, it's your database. There is nothing wrong you can do. You can, if you want to delete the whole database, reload it, same way. So it's
And
your
can-
database running only on your machine.
Can we create more data in the database?
Yeah, as much as if you want to create million records, go ahead and do it.
Okay.
It's your database, okay? There's nothing, I don't even have it. It's your copy. So
Okay.
you can.
So, a question, as a QA person, if you put SQL in our resume,
Yeah,
how much does the interview person assume we know about SQL? How much does he expect?
they will start with some basic, okay, if you have it, right? They want to know whether you understand primary key, foreign key relationships, because that's the kind of like a fundamental for any query writing. And then they will talk about the joins and certain things. How do you go about writing the join statements and what those are? Because there is a variety of joins. There are a variety of joins and so forth. Now, select statement can get complex. So depending on the project they are hiring for, if you are in the data warehousing world, definitely they will drill you on SQL. You need to be like at least mid-level type of expertise they will expect.
But if I'm an expert in the SQL, I wouldn't go for a QA, right?
No, you are not developing anything. You are not developing. You still need to understand the statements and stuff, right? Because for the test data side of things, you have to create test data, read the information, write the select statement, update statements, certain stuff. You're not writing programs, no. Okay. But again, this one you will not remember. Okay, so you have to practice a little bit on your machine. So definitely have it up and running properly on your machine. I think that's the goal. Okay. And I'll send you one video as well, which you can watch it. That gives you some more idea about the different syntax and statements as well. Okay. All right, then I think that's all I wanted to cover for today. So.
Harshal, one question. Just
Yeah.
it's a clarification. The test data we create here in Airflow, does it call the our test data, or somebody is going to generate that test data and we are going to just modify that data, test data and create our own SQL script for the future?
No, test data is, I mean, somebody, so developer will set up maybe super user admin login, right? But if you need to create your own logins, you will have to create it in the user step. Because developer doesn't know what you need for testing from the data standpoint. Only you know. So you might end up writing the statements yourself.
Okay.
Plus, when you're executing test cases, right, you have to write the queries and other things to verify whether the information is saved properly or not into the tables.
Yes.
Plus, if you are doing automation, right? So automation, you have to learn this, pick up the SQL skills as well for the automation. Yeah.
Yes.
Because test data creation is part of the automation scripts as well.
So Harshal, I completely couldn't understand the what is that homework.
Okay, yeah, I'll send you the email. But the homework is right. So SQL, practice SQL, right? If you have it installed up and running. Second part is Jira test cases. So make sure you get some practice on Jira, because that's what we will review if you write it on Thursday as well. And then I think we'll dedicate some time to fix some SQL issues on Thursday. So last half an hour, we'll work through any SQL issues that you guys have. But follow the steps, okay? If you follow the steps, I think it should work, because everybody has the same software. So hopefully you guys can work through that. And if you already have it installed, then I'll help you install the Airflow database again on Thursday.
No, I'm able to do now. Thank you.
Okay. right, great.
And for SOAP UI, the links you sent us in email, we can work on all 4 of them.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
correct. Yeah, I think the next weekend, right, it will be UFT session. So in the download link I sent you, right? You guys already have a UFT in that folder, software. Again, that
But-
one will not, there is no alternative to that, to work on the Mac for that one. For that, you will need a Windows laptop to work through it. For the UFT.
Can you say that again? Which email has it?
The download link, right? I sent you the software download link where you
Let-
downloaded the SOAP UI.
Oh
That-
yeah, the second one you are talking about.
That is correct. So that one is needed for next Saturday. Okay, so you can try installing at home. I think,
Download it before Thursday. so-
yeah, download it before Thursday, that software. And if you have time, we will install, or you can install it yourself. Same thing, just click next when you run it. And accept all the licensing agreements and everything.
Which one is it?
So UFT. So here,
Make sure you download it and be ready.
let me just show you
before
quickly
process
here,
it.
right? Just want to make sure you have. This is a download software link I sent you guys, right? And this is SOAP UI download. This one also, if you go to this folder, you have 2 software. You install this one. This is this is needed for the next week. Okay, so this one, download it and install it. Okay, this one will take 30 minutes again is to install on your machine, depending on your computer speed. But make sure you click everything okay, all right? Don't never cancel anything, hit okay, accept all the licensing agreements, then only it will work. And if you see any error, just ignore it. Keep moving.
That's 700 meg file, so it'll probably takes a good 7-8 minutes for you to download also. Just remember.
Right. Yep, depending on the computer speed. Yeah, it's almost 1 GB. Okay, any question on anything? If not, then we can wrap up.
Or may give where GSS file is not there. I'm trying to download it.
Yes, yeah, unfortunately, I'm not a Mac expert. I have no idea about Mac. So I won't be able to help you on the Mac side.
I think she has a issue even just launching the container. So it's something like.
You need probably, I don't know how the permissions are set up on the Mac, so.
Mac similar, but
Okay.
it's most of the time it will be American.
Admin,
But the problem is the Docker container, they need to make sure the processes are running.
I see.
The appropriate security container to allow the others to get to.
Can I just install any SQL, like which one support to Mac, and can I,
Yeah, you can download anything. Older version is fine as well.
like which are supported to the Mac, and then I can just upload that Rflow file in here and work on it.
No, that's a SQL database.
Yeah,
Oh,
So the syntax and everything is conformed to the Microsoft SQL.
okay, I will try to work on this.
now one alternative for those who have Mac. Okay. I don't know, you can open the Azure account and get a Windows 10 in Azure, just temporarily for a month, and just install the software that you have, then wipe out. I don't think it will cost you anything. Okay, I think they will give you some credits.
Do they have a virtual instance now on the Azure?
Yeah, Azure, you can create a Windows 10 for like a month virtually and work through that. Basically.
It will work on Mac if we go to the Windows.
No, you have to log into the Azure.
It will be on a web page.
I don't know if your husband is IT guy. No, he's not. That's the only thing. I mean,
I will figure it out, but.
You will figure it out?
Yeah.
then go to the Azure .com, right? And I think they'll, when you sign up for them, they will get you some credit. And I think you need only 2 weeks or 3 weeks to work through this thing, right? Some practice around it. So sign up for that and they will get you credit and you can create a Windows 10
Oh, it's like a virtual machine.
virtual machine, but it's on the Microsoft side. And it's free. It will be free for you for a month or something. And you can install Windows 10, right? I mean, so Windows 10 will come with you. So you can just log in remotely and work through it. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, Mac is not a real world. I mean, workplace.
It's more in the design studio rather than software.
Yeah. All right, so everybody's good. We are wrapping it up here.
Thank you.
I mean, in real world every day.
You will need it. You will need it. SQL is